So this is actually a relatively recent lawsuit filed in late January. Bradley Martyn was the one who filed it, and Noelle signed a contract. So she is the female on the right. She's appeared in many of Bradley's videos and has really benefited from just being part of, I think she was in a video with Steiny from the Nelk, just his contacts and being a part of his inner circle, if you will. But Bradley is still much, much larger as an influencer than Noelle. So Noelle signed a contract with Bradley again. So the contract stipulates that she pays Bradley some part of the money, and there is a fee. Bradley may have wanted other things with the contract, and this is what happens when you mix friendship and relationships with business. It always, always ends very poorly because people have different expectations of what they're going to actually receive. So Bradley is suing, and I'm actually interested because it looks like Bradley's lawyers might be different from the Full Send Nelk. As we know, Jesse, MTV Jesse, he has Sunday now. There's a lot of legal issues. I mean, I could spend the entire channel covering just the legal issues. Bob Menery, MTV Jesse leaving, what does that contract relationship look like? There's a lot of contracts flying around. And the one person in the whole Full Send team that is really, it's not Steve will do it, by the way, who knows really how to do contracts is Kyle. Kyle seems to be the only one with a legal mind to be at Steiny. None of them can do contracts except Kyle. And the same can be said about even Steve will do it when he was negotiating his Rumble contract. I think he could have got much better terms than what he eventually did. What at least is made public, what the public terms are. So back to Noelle. So Noelle is an influencer. She was a much smaller influencer, like a much smaller one. And then she moved to Los Angeles. Bradley basically promoted her. And it wasn't organic as they made it seem. They made it seem like, they were just really good friends. Maybe more than friends. But at the end of the day, it wasn't organic. He's suing for breach of contract, unjust enrichment, restitution, breach of covenant of good faith. It's spelled goof faith with an F, goof, like goofy, faith, and fair dealing. So, fascinating to see. I mean, Full Send is involved in, potentially Bob Menery might sue Full Send podcast for, quote, kicking him out. That is another very interesting case. At this point in time, when you're part of this orbit of Full Send, make sure your contracts are very, very tight because there might come a day where somebody will take somebody to court, right? So what is my opinion on this? I think it is a business deal that one party may have believed it was more than business, right? Maybe a relationship and so on, and you can understand, even friendship, even friends, right? Sometimes, like even with Bradley and Steve, sometimes you push, sometimes you pull. Sometimes you're the butt of the joke, and sometimes you're having a good time. And especially with Bradley Martyn, his persona as kind of a pushover, like Steve will do it, kind of previously used him as a pushover. That is, maybe Noelle thought, this guy won't sue me. He won't even try to get his money back. I'll just be on my way. Thank you for the help, Brad, as a good friend. And Brad's like, no. This was business, right? There was a business component. Maybe, again, it's hard to tell, right? They did seem to be, in my opinion, in a relationship of some type beyond friends, even beyond business influencers. They seemed to have a good time. And it ended. Why did it end? How did it end? Who actually really knows the exact details? Another wrinkle to this is Brad is not a talent agency. And you might ask, why is it important? Because Brad, this actually happened to League of Legends as well, where talent agencies were signing up these esports people, and and especially in Los Angeles. Of all the places to have the case held in, Los Angeles probably has the most case law on this. But there's no license. Like, to become a talent agency to represent, quote, celebrities and other people and to manage them, you need a license in California. So could Bradley make this type of contract even though he and his businesses BM Fit are not licensed as talent agencies? Another interesting question. So there are still some things to pick out on this, but at least Bradley, I give Bradley props for this. He's not sitting down and taking it, because the persona that he has, especially with Steve Will Do It videos where Steve is smoking in Bradley's face all the time, even though Bradley's all about health. I remember one video he had purchased a car for Bradley, and it was all just cigarettes in the back. It was just full of cigarettes. And again, Bradley's all about fitness. And then, the whole Bradley Martyn, what Bradley complains, Bradley sold me drugs. The t-shirt where Steve sells it, makes lots of money from. Bradley gets like a tiny commission from, and he's still pretty sour over that. So again, with these guys, when you're making it big, you need to make sure all your contracts are in place. You have to make sure that your side is well represented and that people don't try to screw you over, right? Because they know that you will go to court. They'll drag you in the court and you'll win. Because the contract is a contract. Now, should somebody have told Bradley, hey, man, this contract looks like a talent contract and we don't have a talent license. Do you want to start a company? Because is this something that you're interested in doing, not just for Noelle, but for other people? Then, Bradley's like, yeah, let's start a company. And then you start a company, you apply for the license, you get some training, and you're good to go. That was the same situation with esports, right? A lot of these younger people, they didn't know they needed a license for a talent agency. They didn't know they needed a license to manage people. They just thought, oh, well, it's just a business transaction. But sometimes it's not. Because you do want to protect a 5-year contract, even though Noelle signed it, is a very long contract. Now, the question really becomes, in my eyes, it's a very simple question. It's who came up with the contract? What does the contract look like? So right now, we don't know what the contract looks like. If Noelle is properly represented by counsel and she has her own attorney, right, which we don't know, and they looked over the contract and they said, yep, we're good for the contract, right? She got legal advice, or she was told by Bradley, hey, you need to get a lawyer. And it was recorded that Bradley had said that, and she chose not to get a lawyer. It would be a very different case because it's all about representation. So when I look at something like this, it's all about the leverage. How much leverage did Noelle had? How much leverage did Bradley? We are going to assume that Bradley has the leverage because he is the big influencer, right? But maybe that's true. Maybe that's not true. We don't know until we actually see what the contract is. Contracts can be so one-sided that they're not enforceable. That's another alternative. I don't know if Bradley is one of those people, but contracts can be so bad that the judge just says, you know what, this contract is just terrible. We're not going to go with it. Goodbye. And maybe that is Noelle's defense, is that she signed a bad contract. But again, she was paying Bradley, so I would assume that she had some type of legal team. She has some type of negotiation. But try to understand this. You need your contracts. You need your contracts when dealing with influencers. You need your contracts when dealing with celebrities and people, right? I mean, at the end of the day, her objective was to get famous at any cost. And that was achieved. But once you're famous, do you owe the people who helped you? I guess the answer is yes, because if Bradley did not have a contract, he would be screwed. I think we 100% agree on that. If he did not have a contract, he would be screwed. Anyway, hi guys.